Salutations and welcome to the Manabar Video Game Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Rhodes, and I'm here with Matt Samarco.
Hey, what's going on?
And Dan Party.
I'm here.
Has there been any arguments about me saying Matt's name first? Is that okay?
No. But now that you mention it.
I just always look to my left. It's kind of a clockwise thing.
I just think it's important that we keep doing it that way.
Okay. Matt thinks it's important. So
I think we should change it.
We're
just
gonna...
because Matt said that.
Right, topic one.
Great. That's actually the first topic, is the hierarchy of the podcast. No, good show today. A lot of news that we're going to cover dropped within the past 24 hours.
It's going to be a good show. It's going to be a show. We're going to get it done.
I'm a bit more optimistic than you when it comes to the quality of what our shows can be.
I like to set the bar low and
jump over it.
I'm going to set it super high, something we can never meet.
I'm stressing out now.
We're going to talk about some Pokemon Company press conference information that came out last night. A bunch of E3 leaks that have happened over the week. The new Death Stranding trailer and release date that came out just hours ago. And then games we want to be remade in the next generation. But first, what you guys playing?
Oh, we're going to the right now. All right.
Well, I feel like I start every time. I don't want to.
No, that's fine.
No. Dan's right. Consistency. Matt, what are you playing?
Oh, Jesus. All right.
I'll put you on the spot.
If I'm going to always be the first guy. So I've been playing Team Sonic Racing, which came out last week. The new big kart racer in the, Team Sonic Sega All-Stars. Yes, that's the one. It's a pretty fun game. It seems to be a little bit not as good as the All-Star Racings. It's just a regular kart racer. It's pretty fun. The worlds are pretty interesting. It has that kind of like nostalgia. Not a lot of the music is like stuff that you've heard from other games, but it all feels like it could have been in those games, which is kind of cool, like a new little twist. So you get to choose. Usually when you're playing, you'll get to choose like one of 3 characters, and you play as a team. So you'll be there's 12 characters altogether, but you'll choose on a teams like Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. And Sonic is like the fast one. Tails is the he can do a special skill where he can, like, when there's dirt and stuff, he can go through it without being slowed down. And then Knuckles is the power one who can go through, like, building pieces without getting slowed down.
Is this kind of like... Wasn't there a game where you were on... Was it Sonic Heroes? Was that the game for, like, GameCube era where, like, there was, like, 3 teams?
Yes.
4 teams of 3?
Yeah. That's pretty much exactly how it works. And it's kind of cool the way you interact. Like, there's one thing where you do, like, a slingshot move. So if someone's behind you, you kind of feel like, Ricky Bobby from Talladega Nights, like, slingshot you. If you stay behind this trail and then you, like, go out right in front of them, you'll, like, slingshot in front of your partner, which is kind of cool. And then there's, like, a special burst speed where you, all 3 of you get this huge super boost at the same time. The only issue is that is like one of the ways that you can actually get your little boost bar up is by trading weapons to your opponent. So you'll get a weapon in a box like you would in any Mario Kart game, and you can either use it like a rocket or a boost or something, or you can press circle on PlayStation and it'll offer it to one of your teammates to take, which is kind of cool, and it makes your boost meter go bigger. But because the special boost is so powerful, like, I'm never incentivized to use the items for anything but passing them. So I'm just getting all these items, and, like, I'm not using any of them. I'm just immediately throwing them off to my friends, which, like, kind of feels like it takes a little bit of the fun out of it, because I'm like, I got to do the most efficient thing, but I also want to, like, shoot stuff and boost and do cool things like that.
Whatever helps you win.
I know.
You said that there's different worlds. Are these worlds based on the other games, or just like the kind of the generalization of the worlds from the first Sonic games?
Yeah, it's kind of like general. Like, I haven't played it a ton. I'm in World 4 of the story mode right now, and like there's like an ice world, and like there's a world where you'll see a giant orca whale going up and down the level like you would in the first Sonic adventure for the Dreamcast.
Yeah.
So, and there's one that's like kind of cool. It's set in like a pinball machine, so it's kind of has that like
casino zone
exactly
vibe. Yeah.
So it has a lot of that vibe. It just feels like it's missing a little bit of the magic of the Sega All-Stars Racing. There's something great about using like Sonic next to II from Super Monkey Ball, next to friggin' the Crazy Taxi guy for some reason. And those games had like special moves for all the characters, so they kind of felt a little bit more unique. There's no real special moves for any of these characters. But the core gameplay is pretty fun. Yeah, it's just, I guess, doesn't have quite as much of the magic as the old ones.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of articles about how, like, because of reason A or B, this is better than Mario Kart, and none of them really specified whether or not this Sonic Racing was better than, like, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe or anything like that. I kind of just went off that they were more like clickbait articles.
Yeah, probably.
But I have always heard that the Sonic Racing games were inherently more fun. Just seems like this one may have missed that.
Yeah, that's
mark.
what I'm saying. Like, I feel like I'm coming off a little too negative. It is a really fun game. It's just because I hold these games to such high esteem, and I'm kind of like, these games are better than Mario Kart. I know, and no one else knows. I was like, oh, this one's not quite as good as those. So I was a little disappointed, but it's still a fun game.
Mine came in on GameFly over the weekend, so I'm excited to try that tonight, but I haven't had a chance to yet. Dan, what about you?
So I got a little bored of Rage 2. So I kind of went...
Makes sense. I understand.
So I was like, I need something a little bit different. So I went back into my gaming library and picked out 2 that I kind of wanted to jump around with. One of them was Sniper Elite 3. I just wanted to...
How did you make it out alive? I feel like you need a map to navigate your library.
Yeah. I just needed something with I don't know, a gun, third person, preferably. So I was like, shooting Nazis, why not? And then I was getting bored of that because it was just a little too slow. So then I popped in Just Cause 4. And
how was that?
That is actually quite fun. When you do like a bunch of moves in a row, like perfect, like you parachute in, then you glide, and then you land, and then you throw a grenade or a bomb perfectly, right on top of a building in front of like 5 guys, and then you land. It's like, all right, I feel pretty like a badass here. But then when you like slam into a building going like high speed and crash, you feel like an idiot. But it's fine. I was a few hours into it, but then I got distracted, so I was. So with this game, I kind of just deleted my save and restarted from the beginning.
It's like the mission and story fun, because I remember I played the third one and I just couldn't get my teeth into it for some reason. It just seemed kind of
that's
dull.
What I fear. Like I'm already like an hour or 2 into it, and I'm like, do I really want to go all the way here? Because the story, it's a goofy game. It's not to be taken seriously.
Seems like a giant sandbox more than anything else.
Yeah, it's more like if you like experimenting.
Yeah.
Like if you want to put 4 like rocket-propelled grenades on the bottom of a truck and make it float, like, you can do that.
Kind of like a Saints Row, almost.
Yeah, but you can experiment with so much more with this game.
Yes, I think Saints Row's had more of like characters and like kind of like a interesting vibe to the storyline too. But
yeah, it takes like the Avengers and cranks up the humor up to like 10.
Can I just say that anytime I saw like Just Cause being advertised or like in the game store or something, I always read it as Just Cause. And I just in my mind had made this entire background story.
I mean, it makes
about
sense either way. Just Cause Mayhem or Just Cause for the hell.
Yeah, I made up this entire backstory in my head about how the whole series is just about this one guy who's just like blowing up a bunch of crap. Just Cause.
Yeah, I think that's
why
kind
not?
of the point.
I mean, it really is. The whole Just Cause is to blow up the bases so that you bring out the enemy like commander. That's it.
Oh,
so essentially, you kind of got it right. Your guess of your backstory was correct.
But so you've been flipping around a lot last week.
I need to find something. I'll eventually go back to Rage 2. I just when I finish Days Gone, I feel like it's left a hole that I can't fulfill with a good third-person shooter kind of game. I was very tempted to restart Fallout because. I don't know. Fallout always scratches
Fallout
that itch.
4.
Yeah.
Ooh. I restarted that over the summer. It's a good jump in.
Yeah, just every time I do that, I just look at all the games I haven't finished, and I'm just like, I
need to. But would you be having fun playing Fallout? Well,
yeah, but I could have fun with a game that I don't know of. Like We Happy Few, I have that, and I haven't really touched it yet.
I just don't think there's anything wrong with, you've been playing a few games, none of them are scratching the itch. Just go back to something familiar, at least for a little bit. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Yeah, as long as you don't end up playing for like 5 weeks of Fallout 4.
Yeah, I started playing Final Fantasy X last night. Like, I'm at a point where if they didn't release a game for the next 18 months, I'd be fine. Like, I have so many games that I want to play again, that I want to play more of, that I just don't have the time for, because I also really want to play Days Gone and all these fun new Rage 2 and every Team Sonic Racing and everything.
I feel... Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I feel like open world games are just taking way too much of my time.
Well, more and more games are making themselves open world games.
And more games are just asking almost too much of the player for like how, because they're all becoming live service games, and it's like I want to beat all these I want to get to the end of all these battle passes. I want to be doing I want to into Division 2. I want to be doing the raid with everyone. Like I want to be all these games where you can put in hundreds of hours and there's still content. It's just like
yeah, but on the other hand, there's all those complaints about the games that just don't have enough. Like
exactly.
I mean, the whole Anthem situation is just there's not enough content there really. Any?
Yeah, I always feel like I'm being left behind when I'm leaving games too early. But
I'm kind of killing two birds with one stone with the game I've been playing over the past week. So I was away all weekend, and I didn't really have a chance to play any more of Spider-Man. I didn't get Crash Team Racing until it was delivered to my...
Team Sonic Racing.
What did I say?
So you said Crash Team Racing. Next month.
Oh, that's right.
Can't wait.
He's a Sonic snob.
I think I just...
No, Crash Team Racing might be the one that's
I actually prefer Crash Bandicoot to Sonic.
Really?
In all instances, I always had more fun with the Crash games than I did with Sonic games. But neither here nor there. That came over the weekend, so I didn't get to play that. So as part of my journey through all of the Zelda games chronologically, I finally finished Skyward Sword, and I've been playing Zelda The Minish Cap. And it is definitely a breath of fresh air to play that Zelda game. Yeah, that's...
No, Reach. All right.
That's...
All right.
It is a breath of fresh air to play that after playing Skyward Sword because it's a very underrated Zelda title. Along with Oracle of Ages and Seasons, all three of them were developed by Capcom, and I feel like a lot of them are left out of the conversation of like the best Zelda games ever, and I can definitely understand why that is, but I definitely would recommend a Zelda fan to check this game out if they can. I feel like I'm back in high school in 2004 playing. I'm playing it on my Game Boy Advance SP, which by the way, it might be a little small for the hands, but I'll be damned if that isn't one of the best redesigns of a system that was ever made.
Yeah,
like it gives us everything we wanted a Game Boy to have: a backlight, a folding design. It was just it was so good.
Backlight is awesome.
Instead
of that goofy like straw looking thing.
The snake light.
Oh my god! And then you turn that thing on max. It's like, is this on dim? What is this?
I feel like one of the reasons this one isn't remembered as often is because it lacks Ganon or Ganondorf, the main villains from most of the Zelda games. It deals with Vadi, who's like a lesser known Zelda villain. He's only in the 2 Four Swords games. It was also launched around the time the DS came out, or I should say the DS was launched around the time Minish Cap came out. So I think that might have hindered its visibility a little bit. But it's also... like, I beat it once, but I don't really remember, so it's kind of like I'm replaying again, but it's also made me remember how much I miss sprite-based Nintendo games. Because I know we have a lot of indie developers making, like, the sprite-based 2D side-scrollers now, but it's not the same.
It's not.
What, like, the top-down you're looking for?
No, just, like, I mean, an actual Nintendo brand sprite-based game. Because if you think about it, sprite-based games were perfected during like that SNES Sega era, but Nintendo hasn't made one since the GBA era because the DS they switched to polygons for the handhelds, and even for the things on the Switch like Yoshi's Crafted World and all the Mario games and all that, they're using polygons now. They're not using sprites anymore, and I feel like almost it's a lost art. And there are some indie games that do kind of that do scratch that itch for me, but I guess what I'm saying is I would love to see another Mario or Zelda or Metroid in that style.
Well, you're going to have that coming into this year.
Link's Awakening is polygons.
Oh, right. Sorry.
That's what I'm saying is like there's a certain art style to the sprites, especially with how advanced they got on the Game Boy Advance, where they got to a point where they were really getting the most out of that style of gaming, and I just would love to see some of my favorite games in that style again. Kind of like Octopath Traveler is actually the closest thing lately that I can think of that really got to that point.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, it's cool. It's just more of like an RPG, so it's a little slower. It'd be nice to have something a little more action-packed.
Definitely enjoying it. I'm loving the game. It's bringing me back. It's funny that I'm enjoying this game so much, considering that the next game I need to play in the Zelda like chronology is Ocarina of Time, which of course I've played through like 8 times, and I'm wicked excited to like replay that with fresh eyes. But I'm willing to wait because Minish Cap's a really fun game.
Cool.
But yeah, that's it for things I'm playing. The other game I'll be playing next week for sure, because it'll be free with the PS Plus games is Sonic Mania.
It's a blast.
Also the Handsome Jack collection we all already own.
Yep.
That's the other free game for
I own both
PlayStation
of
next
them, but
month.
They're both pretty good.
That's a pretty good deal.
Well, Sonic Mania is awesome.
Do you know
actually.
what the Xbox games for gold are next month?
I do not.
Oh, do you ever really pay attention to what they are?
I don't have Xbox Live, so I don't.
Oh,
anyway.
that's right. You don't.
Nope.
Okay.
They don't have enough multiplayer games for me to warrant a Xbox Live Gold account.
Oh.
There's another game I was playing that I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about was Dauntless. So yeah, it's a new. I'm sure most people have heard of it. It's a new free-to-play kind of Monster Hunter World light kind of free-to-play game. It's pretty good. It's actually has cross-play, so you can play on PC with PlayStation people on PlayStation and Xbox. It's kind of interesting the way they set it up. Like you can't even tell that it's different, except right next to their name, it'll have like a little PlayStation symbol or an Xbox symbol or like a picture of basically a computer screen to signify where they're sitting on. But yeah, it's been pretty fun so far. I was trying to get into Monster Hunter World last year and I just couldn't do it. It was kind of a little bit too much. It's a little bit intimidating. Like even though it's a little more streamlined than the old ones, and I feel like this one is just kind of in that right point for people that want to get into it that maybe just couldn't get themselves into the Monster Hunter game. So you kind of have this like small hub world, just like in Monster Hunter, but this one's a little bit more compact. There's a little bit more like, okay, this is definitely the guy that does the armor. This guy does the sword, and you'll have different weapons. Those like swords, hammers, axes, guns, and things like that. So you can bring any of them that you want into the missions. And each of the missions just bring you to like basically a giant field. With some like small mountains and things, and you have to go and find the one monster, and he's always going to be there somewhere, and it doesn't take more than like 2 or 3 minutes to find him. And then you go and
that's such a
So it's kind of like a more compact monster.
Yeah, exactly. It's more like I don't want
to
to spend like 2 hours trying to figure out where I'm going to fight this guy, chase him forever.
Yeah.
Like you'll find him quickly. You'll have 3 people on your team with you, so it's 4 total. And then when you get to him, there's like you can shoot up a flare, and all your friends will know where to come and you fight him. And it's kind of the combat is pretty in depth. Like you can break off parts of their body. Like say you're trying to get a piece of some enemy's tail because you need that to upgrade your sword. You can, if you physically focus on the tail and you do that enough, eventually you'll see it fall off, and that means you'll probably get that drop, which is kind of cool that they have.
Oh, that
kind
is
of like
really
feedback.
interesting.
Monster
mechanic.
Hunter did that. Do they run away in the middle of like the fight if you hurt them?
They do run away. Sometimes they'll run away once, but again, it takes it's not as difficult as Monster Hunter. It takes maybe it takes a minute or 2 to find them again.
Yeah, I was really excited when I saw the game at PAX of 2018, but unfortunately, I never got a chance to play, even though I was given a free beta key. It's just one of those things I just sort of forgot about.
I did the beta like right when that came out, probably at the same time.
You didn't like
and
it,
I
right?
did not like it. It seemed very boring and dull. So they definitely changed a lot. It made it much.
I think
more
being
depth.
free to play also
yes, that helps.
helps
That changes,
though.
yep.
So I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention, because I'm so into the Apex Battle Pass, is they have a Hunter Pass in this game, which is essentially a battle pass, but it's a lot more reasonable than the ones in a lot of other games that I've played. Like I'm already way ahead of schedule. It's 50 days long, and
Wait, is this a Hunter Pass in Dauntless?
No,
Dauntless,
in
yes.
Dauntless. Yeah, it's
Oh,
$5.
okay.
I remember $5. You mentioned it.
yes.
I was starting to think, wait, Apex released a new
Oh, no.
Hunters.
So they have
pack.
no,
Yeah,
still on Dauntless.
Magellan.
So they have like a first time little set where you can basically get it for $5 on the first one, but usually it's $10 for a season. And I would say you could probably pay for 3 to 5 hours tops a week and get everything you need to get be like ahead of schedule for the battle pass, to get to the end of the battle pass and get everything you want in it, which is kind of like nice and refreshing to see someone not try to nickel and dime you out of like, you have to buy level skips to get this done or play 40 hours a week like some other games do.
Yeah, take note, other companies.
Yeah.
3 to 4 hours a week is okay.
there's like-
Not 3 to 4 days a
They
week.
give you 4 weekly quests that you can do for a bunch of each of those gives you like a level and a half worth of XP, and then there's like what essentially amounts to daily login things, because they take less than 5 minutes. You just have to do something around town, and you'll get like half a level's worth every day just from doing that. So it's kind of nice and refreshing in that respect too. It does kind of over time get a little bit monotonous and like, okay, I'm just doing the same thing, because you're basically going, okay, here's the guy I'm trying to fight. He's fire. I'm gonna equip my ice stuff and my fire armor and just go in there. And not a lot of people are talking on mics. I haven't even seen anyone talk on mics. Probably has a lot to do with the fact that it's, cross-play and everything. So it's definitely a good game that's like if you're just kind of like relaxed, you're tired at the end of the day, and you want to listen to a podcast or even watch a TV show in the background. It's kind of a perfect game for that.
That's most of the games you play. You listen to podcasts in the background anyways.
I do, but usually I'm like pausing them every 5 minutes because I'm like, I got to hear what's happening. And this one, you don't really have to do that.
Here's a surprising thing. You just mentioned the whole, like, not nickel and diming you. Published by Epic Games. Just throwing that out there.
Yes.
Wow.
It's on the Epic Store on
and I know they've been whether or not you actually believe what they're trying to do, and it's not just some like
I think they're getting a bad rap.
front.
They're making mistakes, but it seems
they're
like
making mistakes, but they're trying to push the good ideals of what it should be. Like not only for us being nickeled and dimed, but the developers themselves being nickeled and dimed by how much they have to pay to put something on the Steam store and stuff like that. But so hey, good on them. Moving on. Here, you guys make fun of me for pronouncing names.
I do. Every episode, it's great.
Tsunekazu Ishihara.
I have no idea who that is.
President and CEO of the Pokemon Company. Held a press conference last night to outline some of the new games and applications that he believes will help continue to grow the franchise. Which I gotta be honest, I mean, I think the franchise has come a long way to like still be as like represented worldwide, especially because of Pokemon Go.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
I'd say it still has like a pretty wide reach. I mean, with the card game still out and everything like that. But these apps and games include Pokemon Home, which is a global cloud trading system set to release early 2020. Pokemon Sleep, a sleep app that interacts with you through Pokemon, also sometime in 2020. Pokemon Masters, which is a new mobile game separate from Pokemon Go. No release date, but more information is going to come in June. There will be a new-ish Pokemon Detective Pikachu game for the Switch. It has yet to be said whether or not this is a continuation or maybe just a kind of a game plus DLC type situation, because he mentioned that the Detective Pikachu game for the 3DS left on a cliffhanger of sorts. A couple other small things. Pokemon Quest is coming out in China. Yay, good for them. Pokemon shirts is a thing, like specifically Pokemon. Like I know we all have Pokemon shirts. I have a very adorable shirt with a Bulbasaur. It's Halloween themed, and it's like a jack-o'-lantern instead of a bulb on top. But like Pokemon brand shirts, like there's gonna be like custom shirts with the original 151 Pokemon that I guess you can get. I'm assuming specifically on the Pokemon website. Not much details else was given, but that was it. That's a lot.
It's a lot, and it's
Too
like
much.
also not a lot. It's like, what does any of that mean? Like, what the heck is a Pokemon Sleep game? That's everything I don't want to.
I'm willing to tell you. So at first, this sounded very invasive to me. Like it kind of like tracks your sleep and stuff like that. But then I'm always in the mindset like I'm not really on board with the whole Alexas and Google Homes and all that stuff. I don't like the thought of like that much data being collected to me about me, all the time. But I have a sleep app. I have a sleep app that does track my sleep. It helps me get to sleep at night by waking me up at a specific time in my cycle. And it looks like that's more or less what they're trying to do with this. There was one article I read on Polygon by Michael McWhirter. Nailed it. Where I don't know if this was his quote or a quote from the press conference, but it was, they want to do for sleeping what Pokemon Go did for walking. Whereas, Pokemon Go did get people out of the house and walking a lot more. I, sure as hell helped me get out of the house a little more and walking around. I was taking like 2-hour walks at one point. I guess the whole point is like for people who have trouble sleeping, this is a way for them to get to sleep through entertainment is what they said.
That sounds like an awful idea.
But yeah. I mean, I have a sleep machine in there that has these thunder noises going off just so I can get to bed at night. So I'm wondering if this is kind of in that type of vein. It's all a little weird.
Isn't it kind of funny that the Pokemon Medical, didn't they stop doing that? Now I know what they're doing. They're making sleep apps and
oh, the whole Nintendo Health app thing that they were doing.
Literally, we're like, all right, guys, we're gonna close you down, but we're gonna put you over here. And
I mean, when you develop technologies, I mean, if you don't need them to go to waste, I mean, I don't know whose idea was it to do the whole Pokemon Sleep app. Maybe they'll, like you just said, the whole health thing was shut down. They're like, people like Pokemon, let's just throw the sleep shit over there.
But you really don't want to be
Pokemon security cameras.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be stimulated when you're going to sleep. Like that's how I stay up way too late. Is I'm sitting on my phone playing games. Like if I'm sitting there, like thinking about all these,
I leave my phone downstairs.
Whatever the game does.
I don't think the idea is to fall asleep with your phone in your face. Now they're introducing a new thing called the Pokemon Go Plus Plus.
Are you kidding me?
Well, you know how Nintendo likes to name things really poorly. But so the new Plus Plus, it seems like, you can kind of like the Pokemon Go Plus, you can put a Pokemon inside and it will go to sleep with you. Now, I will say, like the sleep app I was talking about, I don't stare at that all night. I actually put it face down and it just tracks my breathing. So I think the Go Plus...
And where does it need to be?
On my bed, just near me.
Okay. All right.
So the Pokemon Go Plus Plus is kind of like the regular Pokemon Go Plus. I'm going to call it the Pokemon Go PP. It's like that little Pokeball shaped thing. It goes on your wrist. It has no lights or anything like that on it. So that's what would be next to you, like kind of like tracking your breathing and sleeping and stuff like that. So it's not like there'd be a stimulant. I know like tracking your sleeping and breathing sounds like a really invasive, weird thing to do. I'm just saying there are already apps out there that do that, and it usually is to promote healthy sleep cycles. It seems like this isn't really promoting sleep as much as just tracking it so your Pokemon wakes up with you. That's what it seems like to me.
That seems complicated. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
And I really don't know what the entertainment value is in that.
Yeah.
I don't know what the value is in it.
I was going to say, can't you just set your alarm to be a Pokemon noise?
That's what I thought it was at first.
Isn't that the same thing?
Although I will say that because of the app being announced, there's a lot of Snorlax around in my Pokemon Go game, and it's kind of tragedorable because they're just kind of sleeping around and they don't fight
Slung
back.
that in there, right? Huh?
There's like a 2,500.
Oh, he fights back. Are you kidding me? I just was walking in here. It bounced off him. 3 balls.
It's always 3. It doesn't matter the CP. Don't use Ultra Balls.
No, it was right.
No.
What a waste.
Yeah, it's always green. You'll always catch it no matter what, and it always takes 3 Pokeballs to do so. I caught a 2,500 CP Snorlax this morning. It didn't put up a fight at all. It was great.
Oh, Jesus.
But it comes with Yawn. It's a special attack. It's useless, but at least I think it is. I think it did like 0 damage. I don't remember. I might like do a stat boost or something like that. But anyways, it's being developed by Select Button. They developed that Magikarp jump game that everybody loved for all of a second, that I thought was stupid immediately and never touched again.
Silly. I wasn't really into that.
Are people still playing that?
Someone is, not me.
Delete.
But anyways, I don't even have the regular Pokemon Go Plus, so I doubt I'll be into this. So Pokemon Home, however, sounds wicked amazing. We live in Boston. So this is to me is a good way. So if you're really into Pokemon, you're really into trading. If you're into me, you're into collecting all of the Pokemon. And this is a good way to get regionals. So you can it's an app that connects to Pokemon Go, Sword and Shield, which will be coming out next month, and there's also a Nintendo Direct for next week. It also connects to Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, but also connects to something called the Pokemon Bank, which I didn't know what that was. I guess it's a paid service.
Yeah, put all your money in the Pokemon Bank.
Well, hang on. So the Pokemon Bank is a cloud service, so you can trade Pokemon between games, and it works with legitimately every Pokemon game that's been on the 3DS. For some reason, Soul and Silver aren't on the list, but like Omega Ruby and Sapphire, Diamond and Pearl, I'm pretty sure Diamond and Pearl were on the list, but it's basically a way to bring all of those Pokemon that you have from all of those previous games into the new ones, which if you're someone who's really huge into collecting more than you are battling, or you want to save your favorites, this seems really cool. There's no... They didn't say whether or not there's going to be a price for this app in particular. Like if you're using the Pokemon Bank, it's $5 a month, which... I feel like that's one of those things where, like, if I was planning on doing a mass move of Pokemon, I would do it for one month. Or I would be that guy who takes his Game Boy games, puts them into the DS with his DS games, trades them through that way, and then somehow gets that to sync up with the 3DS, trades them that way, and just keeps, like, trading them through the generations, like some sort of, like, hodgepodge assembly line.
You could just say, I have them, they're just in separate games.
This got complicated. Pokemon got complicated.
My Pokedex needs to reflect that in the new game. I'm not one of those people.
You could write them down.
The closest my friend Sarah actually got really close in Soul Silver. Soul Silver had upwards of like 500 Pokemon. I think she got like within like 10 or 15 Pokemon of getting all of them. which was really impressive. I've never come that close. Pokemon Go is the closest I've ever come to becoming a Pokemon master, and I will become a Pokemon master.
I don't think you will.
But anyways, that one interests me because I think that sounds really cool. I think it would be really cool because there's a new Pokemon that just got released. There's one on the West Coast and one on the East Coast. They're both water-based types, East and West Coast of America. So that'd be really easy to trade with someone on the West Coast and without having to travel and spend like hundreds of dollars to travel to Australia just to get a Kangaskhan or whatever the hell's out there. Kangaskhan, right?
Yeah, I believe.
Yeah. So that one seems neat to me. That Pokemon Masters one seems kind of lame. There's the Pokemon Masters game. You can play with trainers and gym masters from the show or something. I don't know. It's a whole different game. Doesn't seem like something that interests me. Are any of these apps or games interesting any of you in any way, shape, or form?
No.
I not really. I guess I'll have to wait till I get more information. Or I'm kind of looking forward to the Pokemon Shield and Sword game, but all these I feel like I've never not been disappointed by an app game, so I'm just very cautious about any phone
the
games.
Pokemon app games have at least held.
Yeah, with the exception of Pokemon
value.
Go, I guess I've really enjoyed.
Like, yeah, the Magikarp one was stupid, but Pokemon Shuffle was like a puzzle-based game that I actually played for a decent amount of time. Got a little grindy for me. Yeah, and then there's this Detective Pikachu game. I guess the first one ended on a cliffhanger, but they were very vague on whether or not the new one's going to be a port or if it's going to be 2 games in one or what have you. I took a look. The Metacritic score is a 71 and the user score is a 7.5 for the one for the 3DS, which isn't horrible. So I guess that's enough to garner a sequel. But I don't even know if I'm not even that interested. I wasn't that interested in playing the first one, so I don't know if I would be that interested in playing the second. Although I will say I was excited when I saw the trailer for the first Detective Pikachu because he kind of sounded like an old-timey, like Nick Valentine from Fallout 4 Gumshoe.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't sound like Ryan Reynolds in the 3DS game.
Oh, we actually talked in...
Yeah.
Oh,
in the 3DS game.
That went right by me, the game.
Well, yeah, I never played the game. I'm not sure if the game was referenced in the movie.
In the movie.
But yeah, I would be interested in Pokemon Home just because I feel like that will give me a way to, trade more in Pokemon Go. But, these other ones kind of seem like a waste for me. I'm surprised that they're so deadpan on expanding a brand that I feel like is pretty expanded for how long it's been around. I mean, Pokemon's verging on, they just hit their 25-year mark and they're still huge. Like none of the other card battle collect them this all game has been like, this popular for this long,
You saying you don't still play Digimon?
I'm saying I wish Digimon would make a resurgence, if that's what you mean.
I kind of wish the card game, they made a mobile card game of it. Because I'm
The
kind of
Game Boy
getting
Color
sick
one?
of just just in general,
The
like,
actual
mobile,
card game.
like on
Okay.
the mobile. Because I'm kind of getting sick of.
Well, they had
Hearthstone.
on Game Boy Color, they had a Pokemon card game. Which
yeah.
was actually
Yeah.
pretty
But I
fun.
mean,
I've actually heard really good things about
Yeah, it was
that
a fun
game.
game.
Yu-Gi-Oh has the dual. They changed the rules a little bit, like on the Yu-Gi-Oh Dual Links, whatever one. Or they changed the monsters or whatever to play a little bit differently. I mean, Magic the Gathering has an online one. I just feel like Pokemon, that would be like
And
a
of course,
neat idea.
Magic the Gathering is still a popular card game.
Oh, it always will be.
True.
Pokemon, I'm almost certain is still popular with kids.
Yeah, but I feel like it's more of a collection thing rather than an actual.
That's
playing,
what it always
enjoying
was
the
for
game.
me. I
Yeah,
never
me too.
enjoyed playing the game.
Yeah, it wasn't very
I've
good from
never
what I
played the
remember
game,
of
but
like
I
the
just
first
figured-
seasons.
I just figured the card game might just be kind of fun.
I bet they could make a lot of money putting it on. I know
card game.
Nintendo has inherently has said they don't like to make nickel and I don't want to keep.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's another phrase we can come up with. I don't want to keep like using that phrase over and over again. But I mean, that is what it is. They don't want to nickel and dime people. So, like, I'm sure to investors, a Pokemon card game might sound nice because they smell the ka-ching. But Nintendo wouldn't even rob you that blind, anyways. I mean, Pokemon Go, I never really felt like I needed to pay a dime.
No. I mean, at least they give you coins and stuff like that now.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I've gotten some free Google Play money and used that to buy things in the game, but like I've never felt like I'm hitting a barrier.
Well, especially now, because I remember when the game first came out, seeing a Pokemon was like rare, regardless of what it was.
Yeah, that was a struggle
Oh my
back
God,
then.
it took forever.
That's why I stopped playing for a while. But like I can imagine in someone in like a really rural area with not
Would be frustrating.
a lot of
Yeah.
gyms around or something like that.
Or no tower service or
I mean, if you live in an area with no Pokemon gyms, I would suggest moving. Because it's just not worth it.
We know what Andy's going to look for in this next house.
Well,
Is it
my
good
last
location,
apartment,
good schools? Is it near a Pokemon gym?
my last apartment was directly outside of a Pokemon stop, but it was like the area of time when I wasn't playing the game, so I kind of regret that as lost times. So E3 is around the corner. We already had a discussion here a couple weeks ago on kind of just a few predictions we had about what we'd like to see and what we think we're going to see from the conference. And lately there's been a lot of cracks in the porcelain.
Blowing up.
And there's been a lot of leaks coming out of it. Just like that. Little, anecdote. So not all of this information has been necessarily a leak. Some of it has been put out there purposefully. But of the stuff I have found that, and you guys might have found some other things that are coming out, but Square Enix is going to have the Avengers game coming to E3. There's going to be a whole huge announcement about that. There was a couple things from Ubisoft, including a roller derby game and something called Ubisoft Pass, which I assume is kind of like, the EA Origins thing.
Yeah, they had they had like an announcement trailer that was like, here are the games we're going to have at E3. And I got excited and I was watching it and I was like, they were basically like Division 2, Rainbow Six Siege, Breakpoint, and then they were like some more games. It's like, okay, of course. So this means nothing.
Yeah, and the entirety of the Xbox press conference was leaked, which includes the possibility of not necessarily revealing the new console, but the specs involved in the new console. Games such as Halo Infinite, Fable, Battletoads, Gears 5, Bleeding Edge, Age of Empire. I'm excited about that. The Outer Worlds and Cyberpunk 2077, which that was already, greenlit to be at. Yep. But we didn't necessarily know it was going to be at the Xbox conference, I guess. Developers said to appear at the Xbox conference include MechAssault, From Software, and Capcom. And I guess there's also a leak that there's going to be a brand new Contra game that seems like it's going to be exclusively for the Switch. But that's a lot. That's a lot of leaks. I guess it's not. I mean, it's not abnormal to have a lot of E3 leaks.
It's almost confirmed now that Witcher, Watch Dogs 3.
Oh, really?
Yes. So nice. Set in London and everything. So I'm excited.
Yeah, you've been looking forward to that for a long time. I know you're a huge fan of the Watch Dogs games.
I have been enjoying them.
I love those open world Ubisoft games, so I'm looking forward to it too.
Yes.
I'm pretty interested in the Square Enix Avengers game, but it just sounds like something they're gonna not do good with.
Yeah. What is it?
You could get the Switch Avengers game. The Ultimate Alliance
3.
I think I played one of the other ones back in the day.
Oh, I just haven't for the Switch, and it kind of reminds me of like Super Smash Brothers, where there's so many characters to unlock, and it's kind of like that fun idea.
That was my first introduction to Deadpool. Was in that game.
Oh,
I think it was one of the ones for the 360.
Yeah, well, it's either Ultimate Alliance 1 or 2, but it was just fun because every level they're like, ching ching, here's more characters to unlock, and then
I want to know more about this roller derby game.
It actually sounds kind of goofy. It kind of sounds goofy, and something different than
that'd be fun though.
Yeah, it's like a racing game and like a melee game all in one. That actually sounds kind of goofy.
FIFA is one of the best-selling games around the world, so maybe we're just not the market.
Yeah, I guess so.
But I know I have a couple. Well, you know what though? Here's tackling a demographic that may not always get as much of the spotlight. A female-specific sports game.
Yeah, look at.
So I have a few friends who have played in the past in roller derby, and they really loved it. So I think it's a really interesting idea.
I think as a video game, I think it's just neat.
Roller derby isn't female only though, right?
I was under the impression it was.
Oh,
no, I think
am I incorrect?
That's
just always what I think of as the female.
I did not do a lot of research on roller derby, but I would assume that anybody can play it. And I just think the idea of like a melee race type of thing would be kind of fun.
Maybe it's just everybody I knew who liked roller derby happened to be female. Roller derby is a contact sport played by 2 teams of 5 members roller skating counterclockwise around the track.
That sounds just brutal.
Doesn't really say anything about gender specificities.
I think there is like a professional league for women. I don't know if there's a professional league for men, but Either way, I think
Yeah.
roller derby is kind of fun.
Was it just a matter of time before Ubisoft had their own Game Pass?
Oh, I mean, you knew it was going to happen. They have their own, like,
They do have a lot of games. Like they have
Uplay and all these, like, stupid services just to download, like, DLC.
They keep saying they were going to have 4 AAA games in the next by the end of the first quarter of next year. So that's
a
like,
lot.
So that's Breakpoint, and then probably Watch Dogs and
maybe
2 more.
What's it called? Splinter Cell.
Splinter Cell, yeah.
guess.
There's been rumors about that.
And then what's the one with the Beyond Good and
Yeah, they really need to show up at Beyond Good.
I mean,
Evil.
I don't want it anymore. It's always online. No thanks. Bye bye.
Oh, I've been wanting a sequel
like
to that
another
game
DRM
forever.
thing.
I don't care. I've been wanting another Beyond Good and Evil game for years. I'll do DRM to play that. By the way, in case you were wondering, it is primarily by women. Most teams are all female teams, but there's a growing number of male, unisex, and junior roller derby teams. It was under consideration as a roller sport for the 2020 Summer Olympics. Primarily it is all female, but I guess there's a growing, which that's the impression I was under, but I guess I'd never really looked it up. But no, Beyond Good and Evil 2, I'm concerned as to what the story is because we have nothing from the characters from the first game. Again, if that's the DRM thing less concerns me about it being a thing and more about what the game is going to be. Like, oh, is this going to be like some weird MMO game? Because if so, that makes me not want it as much because Beyond Good and Evil was a really great game because it was a single-player, story-driven
That's
game.
what I mean. It's a single... Why? I don't like these games that are trying to force a multiplayer part.
Or no, what I'm saying is if there's no multiplayer part and it's just DRM for whatever reason, I don't know. It's weird. I'm still gonna get it because it's a game I've been waiting for a long time. I'm not gonna let something as silly as that like stop me from getting the game. I just don't think that that's one of the games that's going to be out in Q1 because we were, they kept like dangling Beyond Good and Evil 2 in front of our eyes for like so many, like a decade about, and then finally, like, what was it, 2 years ago, they've had that huge E3 trailer, and then we really haven't heard much since, so I'm just not going to be surprised if that's just back on the shelf.
It could be 6 months. I mean, a lot of games are starting to announce, like, hey, coming out in 6 months. Hey, coming out in 6 months.
But that's like a Duke Nukem-esque game, though, where it's just been, like, in front of our eyes for so many years that, like, I really need to see some proof, Yeah. And I'm just not going to be surprised if that's not one of the ones, but... I mean...
Hopefully you one day, too, can have your Duke Nukem Forever.
Who's subscribing to these Game Passes, though?
You can get, like, with the EA one, you can get a lot of good games if you're really into, like, sports games and stuff. Like, I got it for a month when Anthem came out just to try it. I was like, I don't want to spend $60 on this, but I'm really interested. And I got it for a month for $15, and I realized Anthem was hot garbage trash, so then I just canceled. And I actually got to play like the couple of the Dead Space games too at the same time because it gives you like a huge library of games.
Yeah, Dead Space.
So for $100, I mean, if you're gonna play like 2 or 3 of their AAA games anyway, it's
$100 a year.
Yeah, like the EA one's $100 a year, and you're getting you're not getting the regular edition. You're getting like the ultimate edition usually with like the extra bonus stuff. So if you're gonna play one or like at least two of their AAA games, and then you get their back catalog too, it's not necessarily a bad idea.
Yeah, but you don't own any of them. It's like
True.
A streaming. I'm.
But also, if you want to try them like I did, you can maybe just
true.
get them for a month and be like, I don't want to put $60 down, but
that's
try
true.
it.
Even
or
just
try
tester.
Or even if you're like, I want to beat this game in a month and then be done with it, as opposed to spending $60, you could do with that. And
that is true.
Yeah, I'm sure for a lot of those magazines and websites that do like game reviews, it's really good for their employees to have. Just they can always have access to the games. But like, I wonder what their repeat customer rate is for somebody, especially Origins, with like how Anthem really limped out of the gate. Because I'm sure that was going to be their huge tentpole for Origins. Like, what's Ubisoft's tentpole for their streaming thing? They don't have
Assassin's Creed almost every.
But do they have like a service game, like an MMO coming out?
I mean, all of their games are service games. Like Breakpoint is going to be a service game.
Screw that. That's true. On top of that, like they have a lot of. I'm trying to think of the other one. The Division is a service game.
Yeah, the Division is a huge service game.
I'm trying to think. Far Cry is not a service game.
I guess I just don't feel like those are in the same thing as
Six
Anthem.
Siege. And I feel like they have one more.
For Honor, is that?
Yes, For Honor. You're right. That's it. That's the swordplay one.
Yeah, so they have those. Plus, they have like the Watch Dogs and all the Assassin's Creed, like all those games would be that.
No,
could be a
I
good
understand
deal.
they have a library, but I don't know. I just feel like every developer is
Yeah, but
throwing that in.
EA, I feel like a lot of their games, like Dragon Age, Dragon Age and Mass Effect, they weren't like multiplayer like focused, but they did have. I mean, they'll always get the Madden people, the FIFA people, the sports.
Yeah.
Hockey.
Plus, if you think about it, if you buy like 2 games when they come out, they're $60 each, so you're paying $120, and then a couple of years later, those games are worth $15-20 bucks. So I mean, it's like you might as well just pay the $100, get them both with the deluxe super editions that are usually $80, and then you can buy them down the line for $20 if you still want to play them. Because I mean, I'm certain you'll still have access to your save files at least if you cancel. But
I guess for me, I would just rather do GameFly and have access to everybody's games than play a subscription service to something like EA or like it's kind of like the whole cable thing where every cable site is doing their own streaming thing, and like the whole reason I don't have cable is because I didn't want to watch you in the first place. I'm certainly not going to pay the same amount
there's some
for
advantages,
like all these 50 different
The other thing
cable
is,
streaming sites.
with all the discs starting to go away, which I hate, GameFly and those type of things might not be, around. They might not be able to do that because they're not going to allow them.
Well, then they're just going to stream to my TV instead, not just be able to only have
but
2 games at a time.
Well, that's true, and then you'll be paying, but that
Same fee.
You'll have to download each company's app to do that. That's what I.
plus, it's also fun to be part of like a happening. So like you with EA Access, you can like pre-download the game, and they'll typically let you, which is kind of annoying, but they'll let you play like 3 days early, so you're like playing the day one when everyone else is talking about it on the internet and try to beat it before everyone and stuff, which is kind of.
I mean, at that point, GameFly would. I mean, the next consoles are still going to use discs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
so I don't have to.
We would assume. I would assume.
I think Xbox learned last time not to do the exact opposite that PlayStation was planning on doing. So if you think about 6 or 7 years from now, that's when everything's going to be all digital. By then, I'm sure there's going to be some plan in place, like to have like GameFly is going to be like a. If they're smart,
a service
like it's like a PC only service where you can just play the games on PC.
So Steam, essentially.
Except Steam, you don't pay a monthly rate. Steam, you pay per game.
GameFly has some streaming games that you can play, but they're, from what I remember when I checked it last year, they were pretty bottom level.
Yeah,
tier.
and streaming's not where it needs to be yet.
Yeah.
No, we're not even close.
But that was a tangent. So yeah, Xbox has things happening. I'm really interested in a brand new entry into the Fable franchise. I'm wondering if this is with who's the guy who made the first 3 Fables. It's kind of a whack job.
I have no idea.
I know who you're talking about. I don't know the name. Like Philip Molyneux, is that right? Or is that I could be thinking of a completely different guy. But yeah.
Well, anyways, that's interesting.
Yeah, I never got into those games, but I was always interested.
I've always
never been.
My girlfriend loves those games. She's actually been telling me for like months, like, oh, I wonder if they're going to do a new Fable. I'm like, I don't think that guy's making games anymore. So they might be doing it without him.
I thought it was Fable 4 that was what it was.
Yeah.
Okay, it's Fable 4? Okay. I didn't know. Well, you said new entry, and I know they.
Oh, well,
like
it just said
like the Connect version. Or something.
Nothing I read specifically said Fable 4. I think maybe just that's like the assumption.
Okay, I hope so. I mean, I would be very interested if it was Fable. I'm in the same boat with Matt. I didn't really get into the other ones, but I have them, and now that they're backwards compatible and they increase like the frame rate and everything on it, and the playability, I've wanted to like jump back into 2 and 3.
Yeah,
1 is kind of tough to play.
I'm not sure how the story works though. Like, is this going to be a reboot, or are they going to continue a story from like 20 years
there's
ago?
not really. They didn't really. I mean, this was all just a leak of the press conference, but I don't think it had all the information on it. It says it's a reboot, so I'm assuming a new story. Yeah, it doesn't say remake.
It's probably a good idea, just because.
Yeah, I would say so. I think it's about time. I mean, like Fable 3 came out, and that was like one of the like early titles for like the 360 and stuff like that, wasn't it?
Ago. I don't remember exactly, but
I'm excited for Age of Empires 4, assuming it's not garbage. But I loved Age of Empires 2 was the game that got me into like the real-time strategy games. I used to my summer camp, I would just play that on the PC. We would actually have a computer lab, and we had it shut one time. So you had like 12 of these Windows 95, Windows 98 computers all playing Age of Empires because we would just take the disc, put it in, load it up, take the disc out. You could still play the game without having the disc in there and just put it in the next computer. And one of the counselors came in. He came in, the lights were off because, we're a bunch of 12-year-olds in a computer lab playing Age of Empires. He turned on the light. It was just filled with smoke from the computers because everything was overheating because we had all of these really old computers all playing this at the time, really strenuous game on the system, I guess, all at once. It was so funny, but I'm very excited to see an Age of Empires in a new light. I didn't really enjoy 3 all that much from what I remembered. I remembered I tried playing it, and Age of Empires 2 might just be a nostalgia thing for me.
Yeah, maybe I missed all those games. I was really into StarCraft, but I never really got around to playing the Age of Empires games.
Yeah. The Outer Worlds is said to be making an appearance at the Xbox conference, which I'm hoping that also means that it makes an appearance on PS4 or PS5. That was a game that Matt and I got to try, or at least I tried it. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I don't think I tried it.
I tried it at PAX this past year. It was really fun. You're this alien race, and you're kind of putting together this spaceship to go out into space, and it's kind of like a Groundhog Day scenario where the same day keeps happening over and over again. Yes.
Are you sure?
Is that a different game I'm thinking of?
Yeah, the Outer Worlds is supposed to be like the Fallout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Fallout.
It's very similar to a Fallout style. First person. Kind of looks like Rage.
Yeah, I don't think it was playable at PAX.
No,
I feel like I would have remembered that.
That's why I was like, you're playable. I was like, wait, you played it?
Oh yeah, this is not the game I was thinking of.
Yeah, Outer Worlds is the...
Crap, what was the game I was thinking of? That was a neat game. Forget this. Actually, this looks pretty neat, though.
It is.
Yeah, I just had a list of the games that were coming in. I wonder if it was a similarly named game that I saw at PAX then.
Outer Worlds is made by the people that made Fallout New Vegas.
Oh,
so
really?
That's why a lot of people are.
Well, that's cool. That's a game I still have to play. It's on my list, but
Good reason for you to get an Xbox.
Outer Wilds was the game I was thinking of. Come on, you got to
give me that.
Bamboozled.
I'll give you that. That's close.
So yeah, Outer Wilds was the adventure mystery game.
Accidental advertising.
Yeah, no, this looks really neat. It does look like a very Fallout-esque game, which is right up my alley. Assuming it's, the Fallout New Vegas is courted as the best Fallout game by a lot of people. So
I don't know if I'd put it as my favorite. I did like the world was neat, but after you travel on a desert for a little while, it kind of does get a little. That's why I feel like the atmosphere isn't the best, but the story was the best.
That's why the first Red Dead got a little boring for me after a while because you're in a desert. Deserts are boring.
They
I don't understand people that like westerns.
Well, it's because they're deserted. Enter crickets. Yeah. All right.
You broke the podcast.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think I had an aneurysm there.
You're funny.
So E3 should be pretty. I'm really wondering. I'm still wondering what PlayStation's doing though, because they keep releasing little nuggets. I'm wondering if they're
go to the next topic and you'll know.
Well, besides that, but no, I'm just wondering if they're gonna pull a direct or their own version of a direct in the middle of E3. And I know we already talked about this, but it's just been on the back of my mind.
Yeah,
that they're trying to show up E3 by not doing E3.
It'd be funny, just drop it 5 minutes before the Xbox thing starts and be like, nope, us now.
Because
their whole PlayStation 5, you all get one.
Yeah, you get one.
Because their whole reason for not being there is because they just didn't have enough to go on this year. But from everything that they've been leaking and telling us, it seems like they have a lot to tell us
on the the upcoming games list,
including Death Stranding.
Ooh, yes, big trailer drop today.
A new 9-minute trailer drop today, featuring, by the way, the song "Path" by Apocalyptica, or performed by Apocalyptica. It's a song I've had on my music library for 20 years. So
supposed to mean something?
I thought that was a new song.
No, when I heard it, I'm like, why do I know this song? And then the little subtitle popped up in the bottom. I'm like, oh, I have had this song forever.
I don't know if either of you checked in the live screen. It was kind of neat. The live. Well, apparently do you
mean the live feed?
So the live feed before it started,
oh,
and I guess it was the more people, the ink on the hands and stuff. The more people that were going into it, the more hands disappeared. It was some sort of correlation, and I guess that's the idea of the rope and being connected. He's crazy when it comes to all these things.
It's a very interesting game. It's going to release on November 8th.
Yeah, got a
it's
release
sooner than I
date.
thought.
Really soon. I was very surprised by that. So, Dan,
Yes.
as the resident Metal Gear fanboy, are you very excited for this game to come out?
I am.
Not that Matt does not
Yeah,
also
I mean,
like
I'm,
Metal
very into
Gear.
Metal Gear too, but maybe not.
I mean, Metal Gear
to
Solid
level.
5's gameplay was absolutely fantastic, and some of the things I saw from this game, I feel like he ripped it right from his own Metal Gear
I actually
game.
got that a little
he got
too.
all
Yeah.
the voice actors. Troy Baker
that's kinda
is
cool.
is an
The
enemy. I was
acting
like, oh my god,
class
it's
is
pretty much like
top tier.
Ocelot, except now he's the real enemy. Right in front of you. All the famous actors and actresses they got in there. Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah.
Looks awesome. I loved his little scenario in the trailer. He looks like he's going to be a
I'm glad to
fantastic
see
enemy.
him again. I loved him in Hannibal, but I haven't seen him in much else.
Just Rogue One was the only other movie I really saw him in.
He was the enemy in Casino Royale as well. That was the first
That's
time
right.
I ever saw
That's
him
right.
because I was like, wow, he's got a weird eye thing going on. But he's got he had like a weird scar in the movie. But anyway, no, it looks awesome. I mean, he does such a good job at teasing what the game is because he did give some information about what the background was. And it looked kind of neat, like all the ghosts that were kind of like floating looked like they were all connected to like one thing. And I'm wondering if it's gonna be kind of similar to because they did say that you could play it completely offline. You don't need an online component, which I like. Me and my DRM or anti-DRM crap. Anyway, but I have a funny feeling
For those times you're never on the internet with your system.
I have a very spotty internet for some reason. Okay, it keeps kicking me off, and I don't want to kick off because somebody touches something.
That's a legitimate concern. I will say that.
And
Like
for the
being
peop-
in the middle of playing a game and having the internet go out and you be not being able to play the game.
Well,
like, that would annoy me.
Not only that, but for the people like in New Hampshire or whatever that are just away from civilization, and they have bad
I
connection.
love how New Hampshire is.
I
You're
was
like,
just there, and I have bad connection.
there was a Wi-Fi there and it was fine.
Yeah. Anyway, the point is, you can get. Yeah, I have spotty internet, and it's just irritating. Anyway, back to the game that we were talking. I'm wondering if either of you have played Bloodborne, Dark Souls, Demon Souls, any of those.
I've played Bloodborne.
So,
very
and they
briefly.
had those. The world was technically connected, but it wasn't a multiplayer-esque game.
Oh yeah.
where the messages
all
would
of them have
pop
kind
up.
of done that. Yeah.
Exactly, and I'm wondering if he's going to do something along the lines because for anybody that played Metal Gear Solid 5, it's not really a spoiler, but each of you had a military base, and he had this like multiplayer or single player that bleeds into multiplayer effect where whatever you captured and caught in Metal Gear Solid 5, like materials and stuff like that, would go into your online account, and people could actually attack your online like military base and take items and stuff like that. And then at one point you could actually make like a nuclear weapon that you could store at your base or whatever, and it would make you more of a target for people online. And then eventually, if everyone after a certain point got rid of their nuclear weapon, they unlocked a secret like cutscene that you could see for everyone. So I'm wondering if he kind of tooled with that with Metal Gear Solid, and then was
but
like,
you don't like that though. I thought you didn't like people like interfering with your game.
that's if it's a multiplayer component and it doesn't affect the story, that's fine. I like Days Gone having a multiplayer like on top of that would have been fine as long as it didn't impede directly into the game. So having the military, like when you were playing the game,
Was the military base thing just like a
it
separate
was
thing altogether?
Basically
Yeah, you didn't need to be
incentive.
online.
Yeah,
They're
it
different, I think.
it incentivized you
Oh.
to play more of the single player, and then when you hopped into multiplayer, you had some items because of what you did from the single player.
Yeah, I think he's mentioned that there's some sort of multiplayer component to this game. But
Yeah,
no
but
one
it doesn't
really
look
knows
like
for
it's
sure.
going to be directly
Yeah.
like you can play like me and Matt can play together. Which, like I said, I don't mind if you can or can't. The world does look big enough that you may be able to, but anyway, why are you looking at me weird?
I didn't say nothing.
Yeah.
I'm a little. I mean, it looks really interesting. But the only thing I'm not sold on yet is like maybe this is the opposite of what you're saying. Is the gameplay? Like, I don't know. There was a couple seconds where you're shooting a guy and stuff, but it seems like it's a lot of just like walking around and searching and like sneaking and stuff. So like,
Well, that was kind of Metal Gear Solid 5 in a way. Well, if
there
you
were a lot of
wanted
guys
to play...
in like bases with like lots of different rooms and different trappings, and you know you can go under those floorboards and like shoot them. You get a bunch of different weapons. So my only concern is this might be like a little bit too slow, just based on the trailer. But
I kind of liked
with Hideo, it could be.
I thought the ladder thing was really cool.
That was
like,
really
where he
neat.
popped the ladder out and extended it,
that
kind
was
of
cool.
dropped, and then I saw like I didn't really notice it initially, but the second time I watched the trailer and I zoomed in, he was actually like, and I give credit to this. Usually when companies release like gameplay, they like remove the heads up display, so everything looks like, oh, it's amazing, and then you find out like, oh, I just press X and all this is done in like a cinematic. Whereas when he was like sliding down the mountain on like the rope, like he actually had to like do it. So I thought that was kind of interesting, kind of like Breath of the Wild. Where...
And it was hard to tell what was gameplay and what wasn't, because this was kind of a demo of the game, which was edited personally by him.
Yeah, I saw that.
So there was no heads up display, but I don't think that's how the final game is going to be. I think that was just for like just to show us kind of.
But it did have like when he slid down, like when he was on the rope, it did say press X to jump
Oh,
off.
did it?
Yeah, it did.
Okay, cool.
So
cool.
And
I didn't notice
knowing
that.
him, he likes to remove the heads up display. He doesn't like to have. Yeah. He's very artsy and stuff like that. So I wouldn't doubt that he would want to do that.
Yeah, they definitely revealed a lot more about like the storyline, but it's still I'm still super confused.
I'm only slightly less confused than I was prior.
I mean, like there's I think there's the president. Is that the president that's sitting in the like laying down? He's talking about like, oh, there's this, you don't have a country anymore and stuff. So I don't know if he was talking to the president or just someone that.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. There's a post-apocalyptic world and evil organizations.
It was America. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
I did not think it was actually going to be America.
Otherworldly, ghostly elements involved. There's two sides, maybe like 2 dimensions, past, present. Who knows? Who knows what they're going to throw at you?
I was getting a lot of like political vibes from it when they were saying like we need to be united and we need to. I was like, oh,
maybe resources ran out, or there's like these other like demon guys. Like
Well, they said something about that, like terrorists. The character who plays like Troy Baker is like a terrorist group, and I don't know why I noticed it, but he said something like everywhere they go, they leave like a hole. And I guess that was in one of the other trailers. There's like a huge gaping hole in the world.
And it's really funny because I often complain in general of like movies and games that are being, I guess, weird just for the sake of it. But for some reason with this, I don't get that feeling. I'm really just like, it's different.
Yeah.
Because I've been noticing a lot that a lot of games, as different as they are, still feel kind of like more of the same. This feels like it's just completely out of left field, which you could expect from Kojima, which is just a really nice thing. Like, I'm glad I'm confused.
Yeah, I like that they're introducing the word baby bridge to my vernacular now that I can use that. I'm going to try to sneak that in any conversation I can.
Hey, and just in case you can't sneak the baby bridge, you can actually sneak a baby with the collector's edition. Have you seen that? It's a full-size baby that you get in the collector's
I just
edition.
don't want this to be one of those games.
Not a real baby.
Not a real baby. Nobody wants that.
They do not give you a real baby
not
in the
that
collector's
you know
edition.
of. I don't want this to be a game where I get to the end and still don't know a single thing about what happened, though. Like, I don't want it to be one of those things where it's like, find out more in the book or the next game.
Which is like half
of,
I don't know, that's like half of the Metal Gear games. I feel like you get to the end and you're like, well, you get to the end of Metal Gear 2 and you're like, what just happened? I just fought the president and like now they're patriots and now but they were dead the whole time. Like
George Sears? Well, he was the ex-president.
Yeah.
And then I love that whole conspiracy. Like they
No. As long as I understand it, though.
No,
like,
I mean,
don't make it to the point where like I feel like I still don't know what happened, and like this is coming from a guy who, grew up on Final Fantasy VII, which is not one of the easiest storylines to understand. No. It took me quite a few playthroughs to really grasp it.
I just have a funny feeling with this game. It's also good that it's no longer Metal Gear Solid, so you don't have all that prior knowledge that you have to know to play a Metal Gear Solid 4, which literally made my wife's brain hurt when I played it for about an hour. She was like, wait, who's that? Wait, what? He's who? So at this point, it's a fresh new story.
Well, that's what really interested me is, we're doing this one from the ground up, because I didn't play the Metal Gears as they came out, and I don't have a PS3, so I was never able to play the 4th. And I've just kind of tinkered around them for the most part, but I'm really hoping this is kind of setting up like a new long-standing universe that
absolutely.
We're starting at ground zero of, and I can experience it with the rest of the world, kind of like that, fear of missing out type thing.
Yeah, no, and I'm just excited to see what this potential multiplayer component could add to the game. Because, like I said, with Dark Souls and people's messages popping up, it was just enough of the multiplayer, like people leaving notes, like, "Oh, jump down this hole. Oh, I'm dead. Oh, screw you, person who left that message." It kind of gives just that little bit, and knowing him, he'll do something kind of in the background that won't impede on your game, but it'll just kind of flesh it out just a little bit more.
Oh, good! It's coming out 2 months after Borderlands 3, so I won't. I was worried when that was
now
coming
you
out.
shouldn't get Ghost Recon.
I'm probably still gonna GameFly that.
Oh, I mean, yeah, if you GameFly it, yeah, that's probably.
That was my plan to begin with. I was
gonna get them all, and it's gonna be an awful choice. But
are you gonna pay full price for all of them?
Yes,
for Ghost Recon too.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, that just seems like something I kind of wanted to play with you for a little while and just try.
Play Wildlands.
Yeah, but no one's gonna be playing Wildlands.
But I gotta play.
You already said you already
man.
said you're too busy with Borderlands. That's why you won't.
Well, then we'll keep playing Borderlands,
okay.
guys. We'll keep
Okay.
playing Borderlands. I'm trying to get them off.
Wildlands.
That's not gonna work.
But no, and you know, the other thing that really makes me excited for Death Stranding is not only that they have, you know, someone who's dedicated to their craft of developing a good game, but it's also a Sony exclusive, which they've been, you know, hitting them out of park one after another. Even if you don't like all of them, you can't tell me that Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, or Spider-Man weren't well-made, critically acclaimed games. You know,
I enjoyed the hell out of Days Gone. I know you didn't too, Matt.
Yeah.
So
I keep forgetting Days Gone is a exclusive.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting that.
No, it's good. I mean, and not only that, they still have stuff coming down the pipeline. They got Ghost of Tsushima, which that's Samurai game. They have The Last of Us 2, which is apparently, from a few articles I've read, it's probably going to get pushed to February of 2020. Which, hey, I mean, by the time you play Death Stranding, really play the crap out of that, then Last of Us 2 is coming out potentially.
Does Xbox have anything coming out, or are they like all in on the new Xbox? And
I think that they've been buying up hundreds of developers to go all in on the new Xbox.
Yeah, that's what it
and
feels
I
like.
still feel like that's what they're going to show us at E3.
Gears 5.
Yeah, I'm like 9 because the kind of the general consensus is these systems are going to come out at the end of next year. But like part of me is thinking like Xbox is going to be like, it's coming out in February of next year or something, or like November of this year.
I mean, they could. I don't
want to push it early and get the red ring of death again. Whoopsie.
Yeah, I mean, they made out good coming out. They came out before the PS3, I'm pretty sure, but not by far. But like they came out
within a week of each other.
Yeah, they were all.
Oh, was it?
They were
I
pretty
feel
close
like
to each
it was
other.
within a week.
The Xbox One came out, I'm pretty sure, well before the PS4, didn't it?
You know,
Am I just making up
I
all
thought
this
it was
stuff?
a week because I remember working at GameStop when that happened.
I remember with Xbox One and PS4, it was very close together. I don't remember farther back than that, unfortunately.
I feel like
I thought one of them came out like well before the PlayStation. They were trying to like get ahead of the game with the Xbox 360.
You might be right on that.
The 360.
Well, that was the first one I said. The 360.
Well, the 360 came out well before the PlayStation.
Yeah,
I thought you meant the PS4. Sorry.
No. Well, then you guys said no, and I'm like, oh, maybe I'm thinking of the PS4 next.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So and that worked out for them. The 360, the PS3 took a long time. They eventually caught up with quality games, and you know, Xbox paying too much attention to the Kinect at the end. But getting out ahead, I think, really helped them.
Yeah,
so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they're trying to do that again.
Yeah, they could really shake things up if they were like, we're coming out in March, and PlayStation's not going to be ready till like November or October.
That does make it weird that they just came out with that sad thing. Like, I just feel like, I don't know. I just feel like even 2020 is a little too soon for. I was hoping to wait for these systems until 2021. I feel like we just got the Pro and the Xbox One X still.
Oh, I feel like it's a guarantee of 2020.
Oh no, it is. I just personally feel like it's still too soon. Like in my mind.
Yeah.
Like when I'm thinking of these consoles, because my PS4 Pro is still doing just fine. You know?
Now.
But you could have a PlayStation 5.
No, I know.
And you can play all your PlayStation 4
I think it was like Matt
games.
mentioned previously. It's the whole mid-season upgrades that we got this time.
These half steps are annoying.
Yeah, which this was like the first time we really got a half step, because previously it was just slim consoles, not necessarily beefed up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll see. I mean, that would be huge. But yeah, I think Xbox is I think they're really gonna show what they're gonna do for the next generation, which isn't what we were talking about. What were we talking about? We were talking about Death Stranding. You guys have anything more you want to say about that?
I'm just excited for a 2019 release.
Yeah, I mean, the Metal Gear story was so good. Like, I'm a little apprehensive, but I trust in Hideo Kojima. So
as long as he doesn't throw his name
would
everywhere
trust.
like he did in 5.
This looks like Metal Gear meets the PT playable trailer.
Yeah, it looks like a horror Metal Gear
meets
so far.
what was that game that came out a few years ago that really sucked at first? The Planet
it's a lot of
Space one.
Oh, No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky. It seems like a little bit of No Man's Sky.
Yeah, no,
in
I
there,
can see
too.
that. I can definitely see that, especially with the spacesuits and everything.
So moving on to our general discussion topic of the day, which
general discussion time.
I should probably make some custom music for general discussion.
Yeah,
like
or
a
else I'm just
custom
gonna have
sound
to say it
effect.
in that weird voice every time.
I mean, you do have a very nice
General
voice.
discussion time.
But I don't think we need to hear that every time.
Well, you're gonna make him
Remakes. They are getting to the point where they're making almost as much money as, new IPs that come out. I mean, RE2 was a huge success.
Mind that nostalgia.
Crash Bandicoot, the Insane Trilogy, I'm pretty sure topped the charts when it came out.
Spyro
We're in a world where like the graphics are so, the engines and graphics and everything are so good that they can take a game that came out in like the PS1, Sega Saturn era and make it play like almost like it's playing like a brand new game. And I know with RE2 that's kind of the experience that it felt, was even though you did play it on the PS1, it felt like a new game and it still felt fresh and it still felt amazing.
Yeah, I feel like that era is kind of the prime candidate for getting
Absolutely.
these remakes, because that's like, it's like beyond the point. Like Super Mario 3 or something on Nintendo, like those games are perfect. You don't really need to make them any better. But PlayStation was the first. That time was the first time where games could really be these open big worlds with like huge environments, but there still was something a little bit like rough about them because they were trying to figure out how to do all this 3D stuff. They didn't have any other games from the past to look at. Like,
so kind of like what I said about the Minish Cap, like the games coming out on the like SNES and Sega were at a time where they had perfected sprite technology and those types of games. So there's really no reason to remake a side scroller with newer technology. I mean, they're already doing it with like new Super Mario Bros.
Yeah, I guess we're getting
like
the
that.
new Link's Awakening, which is kind of a remake.
Polygons, that was a rough time because like a lot of those games are borderline unplayable at times.
They're ugly.
PS2 in like the GameCube era, those games are playable. They just don't always look great. But the PS1 era, those games especially did not age well.
No.
So what is a game or several games, if you came up with multiple examples, that you would love to see remade on the next generation that has not already had a remake or been announced to be remade? Because obviously, if we weren't in an era where the Final Fantasy VII remake was coming.
No, I said, let's see if Matt steals mine.
Oh. Well, you can go first if you want.
All right, we'll change it up. We'll go
back and
to
forth.
the right here. I feel like, and I know this is a crazy pipe dream, probably.
That's what all mine are.
Yeah. A remake of the first Metal Gear Solid for the PlayStation 1.
That's what I was thinking you were going to say.
Yeah.
So Twin Snakes, you want Twin Snakes to come out?
Yes.
I mean, that game was already remade. It's Twin Snakes.
Yeah, but
do you mean like a couple? Like
I've got some news for you, Dan.
No.
We have a
Twin
remake for Metal Gear Solid.
Well, Twin Snakes was
just like a reskinning of the game. It really wasn't like a full on
yeah,
remake.
No, I mean, it was a reskinning, but they also redid all the voice acting. I mean, they recut all the scenes. Like this, it's pretty different.
Well, the reason I mentioned it is because in Metal Gear Solid, oh crap, I don't want to spoil anything for you.
Well, don't spoil anything. Just talk about Metal Gear Solid 1, which I've beaten and played through. Spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't played the games we're going to talk to on the pod.
All right, well,
I've beaten Metal Gear Solid 1. What's the problem? What were you going to spoil?
Well, because in Metal Gear Solid 4, you go back to Metal Gear Solid 1's location.
Okay. Yeah. You could have talked about Metal Gear Solid 1 without saying that. I'm just throwing that out there.
I understand that, but the reason why I got excited
don't get into just so you saw that and you're like, oh, they can remake this
well,
game.
Well, they did, as you know, Matt, they made a lot of it, and going back and having him, you know, kind of reflect on what he did in the first game, you know, several years later as like an older, more wise Solid Snake was a crazy trip. And I mean, I think that with seeing how well Resident Evil 2 did, and just felt like a new game, but still, you know, you knew what was coming down the pipeline because you already beat it. I feel like with Metal Gear Solid, that would be perfect with some of the updated controls of, you know, Metal Gear Solid 5. Maybe some new tech that they could probably do in the Metal Gear Solid 1. Just all, like I said, I just think playing that one part of Metal Gear Solid 4 just was like, oh my god, I want them to remake this.
Not to mention, if for some reason it was Kojima doing it, he would go all out for it and add to the game probably.
Yeah, it's just I know that will never happen because Kojima and him.
Let's for a moment live in a world where he has the IP. He still works at Konami.
It's an interesting choice though, because I almost feel like that's one game where I feel like you don't need to remake it because even the gameplay is pretty fun. Like it's not it doesn't. I feel like it didn't. I feel like it ages kind of well for a PlayStation game.
All of my experiences are with Twin Snakes, so it's kind of hard for me to judge.
Stop and aim in first person, and I feel like there's so much. Like nowadays, it breaks immersion when you're like hiding behind a wall, and then you have to do the pop out thing. And I just feel Metal Gear Solid 5 just made it so like you could easily just walk up to a wall and he would just sneak up or connect right to the wall, and it was so clean the way that Metal Gear Solid 5 was made, and then the 60 frames per second, and
well, to Matt's point, compared to other PS1 games that came out around that time, Metal Gear Solid is more playable. The first Resident Evil in Resident Evil 2 are a bit more playable than some of the other games that came out that day. And maybe I'm just keep thinking of what's that came out on the N64 because you only had the one joystick, which was just
that
mind numbing. But no, I would based automatically buy a remake of Metal Gear Solid 1 if it came out. It is the only Metal Gear I've beaten, granted, but it was a really fun game. I've played through it 1.5 times now. Much less than you do.
Played it like dozens, yeah. It's a pretty... I mean, if you want to flame through it, you can get done in like 2 hours or less.
Yeah. I think for me, I didn't play it until really late, so I had so many other games that I wanted to check out and play. But no, I would love to see that.
Yeah, that one, and then the other quick one, is obviously because of the success of Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3 would be absolutely incredible. And I got that feeling... exactly, and that's
I probably think that's going to happen.
Should, and then down the line maybe Code Veronica. But walking around in the mansion and seeing Mr. X chase you was creepy, but it did feel like a giant Inspector Gadget was just chasing you, so I wasn't that really freaked out. Exactly. Inspector Mr. X.
It's funny, he feels like a Nemesis ripoff, even though it came out before.
And the Nemesis is freaky, and as anyone that's played the game, the more you bump into him into the game, the more he turns kind of into a monster. Like he loses more of his human side ish that you see of the monster, and that's what creeped you out. It was like, oh crap, what does he look like this time? Whereas Mr. X is like, oh yep, I'm just in a coat and I'm just gonna chase you.
Yeah, I kind of like that in the Nemesis game for PlayStation. You could actually like kill him for like a short amount of time.
Yes.
Basically, like if you kill him every time you kill him, you'll get like a part of an upgraded weapon
and Brad Vickers' ID card.
You can like put it all together, and it's kind of cool. It's like an incentive to just kind of attack him, and then you'll be safe for a little while, and you won't have to worry about it. And also, you get this like bonus. So it's kind of
what was it called? The Eagle or something?
I think you get a gun for like, I don't know if it's a different gun for each of the characters, because like each time he'll just drop one of the 3 parts of the gun, and if you kill him enough times, you get like much more powerful. That handgun is pretty cool.
I'm going to be very surprised if that's not announced at E3
at E3 this year. Oh, see,
that'd be kind of quick.
That would be kind of quick.
No, not coming out soon. But hey, Resident Evil 2 made gangbusters money. Capcom's on top of the world right now. They're doing so good.
Yeah, the Devil May Cry 5 did really well. The other I stopped at a GameStop. What a shock! And some kid was like talking it up, and I was like, "Oh, I kind of want to play this," but I don't know anything about Devil May Cry.
They did announce Resident Evil 8 as well. Did they announce that yet officially?
They announced that they're working on the next iteration, like in the series,
but that's going to be a lot more like 7, probably, right? So then this, if they did that in tandem with remaking 3.
Well, they could do the alternate like every year. This.
Which that's fine when one of them's a remake.
We're in this weird spot where are these games going to come out on PS5 probably? Like, is it now to the point where these are probably not going to make it? Or are they going to be cross-gen?
Yeah, I think a lot of the games that are going to be announced this E3 are probably going to be cross-gen. I mean...
Yeah, it makes sense.
If they're coming out next year especially, because, that always overlaps by like a couple years at least. I mean, hell, PS3 3 came out in 2006. The PS2 still had games on it in 2012. You know,
Yeah, I remember like they had those weird things where you could buy like was it the PS3 where you could buy like Assassin's Creed and that would be like an upgraded version. You could pay $10 to get like the PS3 version of it or whatever.
Oh, yeah, I think they did that with a Vita, too.
Yeah, so I wonder if these are going to basically be PS4 games, but like there's going to be a slightly better looking one on the newer gen systems as opposed to...
Flag did that, I think.
I mean, honestly, I could not tell that GTA 5 was just a game originally for the Xbox 360. GTA 5 looked pretty great on the PS4. I mean, I don't know, maybe had they made it from the ground up as a PS4 game, it would have looked a little better, but it still looked amazing.
Well, the frame rate would have been so much better.
To me, graphics are to the point where, like, between the PS4 and PS5, I don't know how much difference there is. Then again, between the PS3 and PS4, there was a huge leap. So, who knows?
I care more about frame rate now. When I get a game with 60 frames per second compared to like even like Rage 2, like it plays so like buttery smooth, and yeah, the graphics aren't perfect. Like you can see some kind of
butter.
Yeah.
See,
I just see some like kind of edges, or I don't know what you'd want to call it. I'm not the tech
like cell
guy.
Shaded stuff almost.
Yeah, just not really cell shaded. Just something about it. Like I don't know if it's motion blur, but something looks
so
just like rounded and stuff.
Yeah.
No, that's the 60 FPS. So there's no motion blur really when your characters are moving around. There's probably a lot less pixelation of the polygons around them and stuff like that. Although that's a resolution thing more than a 60 frames per second thing. But 60 FPS is nice. That's never the first thing I look at when I play a video game, though. I'm much more interested in like story and content. Well, that's always like a cherry on top.
I'm talking
of
about
it
like
also
when it comes to like resolution, or because some games have resolution or frame rate, if what you want to focus on. And I put it more on the frame rate because I'd rather it not dip. And I think
that for me it depends on the type of game at that point, probably.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. What do you want to get remade?
I got gluttonous and made a bunch of games, so I'm going to try to
That's
keep
fine.
this
That's
short.
fine.
Well, first I was thinking to kind of add on to what Dan was saying, a similar genre to the Resident Evil games. I think the first 1 or 2 Silent Hill games would be fantastic.
Silent Hill 2 specifically.
Well, Silent Hill 2 is my favorite horror game of all time.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so good. Like it's such an. I mean, everyone loves it, but it's still like underrated. Everyone should play that game.
I was watching
the music. I listened to the music.
Is so
it's so terrifying. Of course, then every now and then when I put it back in, it's like, whoa, there's the horror part.
They do scary right because it's not like jump scares or like that looks gross. It's just super unsettling and you're terrified of every like room for no reason.
I've never been more terrified of mannequins. Thanks, Simon.
Yeah, like imagine seeing Pyramid Head in like much in PS4, PS5 graphics. But I mean, so if you play those games now, they're still really fun and they're very atmospheric. But it's a little bit like I don't know, a little bit jokey too, because it's like it's like these kind of serious. Yeah, it's these serious things where you're like you look like this big blocky dude and you're attacking these blocky looking mannequins with like a pipe and stuff, and it's like.
The noises that they make.
Honestly, I think the bad graphics actually make it a little more terrifying for me.
I agree because
the like what is it? Dust, the fog and stuff makes it much more atmospheric. So I wouldn't want them to be like, oh, now we have the technology to not do that. But
was it 2 or 3 or 1? I can't remember which. Where there was that hallway of doors, and each door opened up into like some random ass. That was 2.
2. Well, they all do it. They're all. 2 and 3 take place. Well, excuse me.
Some of them.
2. Oh my god, half of them take place in a hotel. 2 towards the end. There's a whole thing where it's like screwed up. Like the dimensions are all screwed up.
That's probably what I'm. Yeah. So I watched my roommate, my last roommate I had. I watched him play through most of Silent Hill 2, and I don't remember if he got to this point or just showed us the point where you open this door and there's just a woman's giant head in the door.
Oh,
that's just like a lot of
the room. Silent Hill 4, the room.
Okay, it's just like a lot of unsettling imagery, but like I like it for some reason. Like I want to play more games like that. So I would love to see a remake of Silent Hill 2.
That is a great choice.
Yeah,
that's an absolute great choice.
Yeah, for sure.
Way to go, Konami! You need 2 games to remake and Castlevania.
They're too busy making pachinko machines.
And I'll just make so that's the one I was most wanted to see. I would like kill for a remake of Silent Hill. But some of the others I was just thinking of, I'm just going to list them off, are Legend of Dragoon, which I want a sequel of too. Parasite Eve, which was another kind of like somewhat scary but kind of action game that didn't like it had a sequel, but I would really love to see a remake of that. And then So they're making the Final Fantasy VII remake, but I kind of secretly want them to make 8 through 10 too, because like imagine playing 8 and 9 with like voice actors, and then 10 see what like if they can make a more open world with that game, with like a better
Blitzball.
I think just because we've seen sort of a remake, not a remake, but a reskinning of 10, I would really love for them to go back and like completely redo 9.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Just because 10 they did the HD remake, so now
I don't like playing as kids. That was my problem with 9. It was just like, I'm just a bunch of children. And that's one random, like, giant fat guy. I'm like, okay. It was funny.
Yeah,
but
I loved the characters in that game, but the story was a little weird, especially near the end. But
I didn't get too far, but I just remember, like, walking around, you like that kid with, like, hair down to his, like, neck, and I was like, what the heck?
Oh, 9 is like a gem of a game. Like,
it's
never like what I instantly say is my favorite Final Fantasy game, but like I come up with very few reasons not to like it as much as the others.
The CG, the animated like CG was great in that game too.
But I wouldn't hold my breath on Square Enix.
Yeah,
moving too fast on remaking anything. Look how long it took them to do.
Yeah, I feel like they're like, all right,
let's let them focus on the
task at hand.
Yeah, the remake that they're trying to work.
Yeah, I don't want to go off on a side tangent, but they made 7, 8, and 9 all for the PlayStation 1 in like a 4-year period or something, and now it's like we're getting one a generation if we're lucky, and they're not.
Yeah, I'm really wondering what the production schedule was for those games.
Yeah, well, I mean, they could pick up the pace a little.
That's true.
Because they were working on 7 for at least 3 years, so were they just working on all of them kind of at the same time, or?
I know 8 and 9 took like a surprisingly short amount of time to make. Like, they were only making them for, like, a couple of years.
Oh, okay.
Which one was those? 8 and 9?
And then, like, 9 actually came out after the PS2 came out. Like, a few months.
Wow, really?
Because that was 99.
Yeah. No, was it 99? I think it was 2000.
Oh, was it? Might have been 99 in Japan.
Maybe.
But, yeah, no, it was, like, one after another, though.
Well, no, they had, like, Tactics.
Yeah, Square Enix. What happened?
Well, hey,
what happened to you?
I will let
making games.
I will allow them to take their time with this, so we don't get a Final Fantasy 15 type of situation where the game's like half made, and then they're like, "Oh wait, Royal Edition." So,
so do you remember everything I was saying earlier about Minish Cap and how, sprite games and how I miss those? I think that's what directly impacted both of my choices here.
I was gonna say,
and all right, so. I agree with what Matt was saying earlier about there are certain sprite-based games that really don't garner a remake, and it's really just the side scrollers because you can't really do much with them. Like, unless you're going to take Mario 3 and make it look like Odyssey, where you're actually going into a 3D arena. That's it's a completely different game. You might as well just make a second Mario Odyssey. It's a little different when it comes to like a over-the-top sprite game. So the first game on my list is A Link to the Past, because they're remaking Link's Awakening. It looks neat, and A Link to the Past is a way better game to remake for a console. It was already a console game to begin with the console game amount of content that I feel like maybe Link's Awakening was their test into like the whole remaking Zelda.
That's my guess.
But I feel like Zelda is kind of like, Pokemon. It's kind of like Prince money, regardless.
Well, not only that, but I feel like if you put this one out, this is the first one on the Switch, so people are going to get it just because it's a Zelda title. And then they'll put maybe the next one.
Because there wasn't already a Zelda title that launched with the Switch that sold more units than the Switch.
I know, but at this point, most of the diehard fans have either beaten it or played it. And
no,
like,
I know.
It's not my thing.
But, Link to the Past... I'm still figuring out what my favorite Zelda game is, but A Link to the Past is definitely up there in the running. I absolutely loved that game. I didn't play it until it came out on the Game Boy Advance, but like I could see how Ocarina of Time got a lot of its themes and the way it played out from A Link to the Past. Like I feel like that Link to the Past set the standard for a long time with how Zelda games are made.
Wasn't Link to the Past the one with the moving statues too?
Yeah.
Oh, that was because I remember that in Ocarina of Time too.
Like the Dark World and all this other stuff.
Yes,
and it was just a fantastic game. And
yeah, that would be a good one.
That would.
I still remember like the moment, and they kind of harked back to this in Breath of the Wild, where you go to get the Master Sword for the first time, and there's just
all
like
the
this
animals
beam of
and-
light and all the animals, and like it's just like this very epic moment. I would love to see like a huge remade world of that game. Like you could you might have to like rework the dungeons and stuff like that, but like I mean I guess you could say you've played a version of that game and it was Ocarina of Time
or Breath of the Wild even, because I mean going to get that Master Sword in Breath of the Wild made me feel like it did in back then when I got Ocarina of Time, the Master Sword, pulling it out of the Temple of Time.
That's most Zelda games, right?
Yeah.
Mostly.
A Link to the Past had what Breath of the Wild was lacking, which is those like unique dungeons and those unique areas and all that stuff, though.
Yes.
And I don't want to get out a whole thing about Breath of the Wild or the goods and the bads of that game, but like for me, the shrines was a fine like trade off with that, but like
the puzzles were great. Now, granted, if they were thrown in a level, that would have been fantastic. And, and I think Matt talked about this Metroidvania type of thing, where when you're talking about Rage, where they give you all these abilities, but
they're like no reason to use them.
But there's no reason to use them, and I feel like that might have suffered. They might have designed all these crazy levels, but then realized, oh crap, you can go to anyone you want at any time.
Yeah.
So you need to have, either none of the abilities or all of the abilities in order to do it.
Be more fun and
I wonder if that maybe they were like, we're gonna make this crazy design for the. Oh wait, we
maybe
can't do that, and
just to combine all of that into one thing, they did that. They've actually, if you want to get into it, they already remade Link to the Past. It was A Link Between Worlds because it used the same overworld.
That's true. That is true.
And also did the thing where, hey, I'm this guy. I can sell you any item you want, and you can do all of the dungeons in any order.
Rent them? You rent them,
yeah,
right?
you rent them, but like, neat. Yeah, and
do you keep them later? I actually have not beaten that game. And
I have not yet either.
I need to go back to it.
I have not yet either, and I won't be because now I'm playing them in a certain order, so it won't be for a little while. But I don't know. It's still, I from what I played of the game, I really liked, but it was still lacking the depth of the story that A Link to the Past had. Like you start off, spoiler alert, from 20-something years ago, you start off with like I think it's your grandfather or maybe your master swordsmaker like dying, and like there's all this like there's all like this. It's like in this thunderstorm and the rain. It's just like the type of atmosphere it created for
like the water puddles, like
Super Nintendo game. It was just
I never had a Super Nintendo, so I missed out on that. I'd love to be playing it.
Well, again, I didn't play it until it was on the Game Boy Advance, but you have it now.
Yeah, I did play it like last year on the Super Nintendo.
Kind of had that issue where the save disappeared.
Yeah, the save disappeared, and I had to redo like 5 hours worth of playing. And then I eventually got stuck on like some butterfly boss, and I was like, ugh, I just got exhausted at some point.
See, I think I screwed myself because I think I did the dimension change, and I jumped off a balcony, and I cannot, for the life of me, get back to that spot.
There is a way back because that's happened to me before.
Oh
I don't remember how I got back, but that is
everywhere.
Yeah.
Way up in the mountain, and I've come way down to the water.
I'm almost certain that happens to everybody the first time they go into the Dark World.
I'm gonna save it before I go to the Dark World, and then just redo it because it's.
Yeah, I gotta play it again.
I was flying through it, and I just hit that one. Like, I'm gonna go down here and search this. Jump,
and that's the nice thing about having the SNES Classic is because it presents like
save states. Yeah, right.
I'm trying. No, I won't be doing save states.
You can't do a save state on not screwing up that? That's what I would fear.
No, because I don't want to get into a huge thing of save states, but just the way I'm playing the Zelda games, I'm trying to play them true to the original way to play them, so I don't want to cheat my way through them. I want to
Well, he just means like avoiding a glitch.
No, I know.
Right.
Yeah, if it comes to that, I might, because that's a little different. That is kind of
that's
a
what I was
thing.
saying. It's not
but
like
the nice thing about the SNES Classic, I was gonna say, is it has like nearly perfect emulation to the TV, so it'll feel like I'm playing it on the original Super Nintendo, which is gonna be really awesome, as well as the other game I chose that I would love to see a remake of. But
is this another Zelda game?
It is not.
Ooh.
Because I think that would be really lame if
I
picked a second. Well, also, I mean, they kind of pseudo remaked Ocarina of Time already.
What is?
But the original Zelda would be really neat. Remade.
I feel like
3DS.
They
reskinned it and redid it and everything. They even like added like quality of life changes. Final Fantasy VI
6.
or as it's known in the States, Final Fantasy 3, because we don't know how to name games.
Final Fantasy 3?
I did.
Okay.
Final Fantasy 3.
Final Fantasy 3.
Final Fantasy 6, I feel like when a lot of people in our generation think of Final Fantasy, they don't remember the 2D ones first. And I'm not saying that's not correct because, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, because Final Fantasy 7, like when it came out especially, was a pretty epic game for the system, and then they just dominated the next few years. And then Final Fantasy 10 again was another like mainstay on like a new system. So like I understand why people think of those games, but Final Fantasy 6 set those games up to be as good as they were. They compared to Final Fantasy 1 through 5, they really changed the way they did everything. It wasn't like all about like magics and elves and wizards anymore. It was like steampunk. It was very, very cinematic. Especially in the intro. I remember the intro to that game, and I thought, like, am I watching a movie or something? Because like this was them doing cutscenes before like cutscenes were a thing. And you can tell how that all like traveled into Final Fantasy VII, where they like did all of those cutscenes.
Oh, and it was in the block form too, like you walk up and right.
But also you could control multiple parties at the same time. Like it was like all these little things that we've seen in most RPGs now, but going back to 1995, 96, somewhere around there, like all of this stuff was like this. They did it for the first time, and every time I play the game, I just imagine what would this look like, completely redone in today's technology. Like, that. I don't want to like give away too much of the story, but you think the story ends halfway through the game, but it tricks you, and then does like a time skip. It's great. Like so many of the things that they did in this game, like the main character has amnesia. Maybe that's a trope in Final Fantasy games. Because Cloud had amnesia. Squall has amnesia after the game.
Yeah.
He doesn't have amnesia. He just wakes up in the future.
Yeah, but he doesn't know what really happened.
He doesn't know where he is, but he doesn't have amnesia. He like remembers his past.
That's true. That's true. But it's some sort of forgetful, or people don't. Well, yeah, you're right. Never mind. But that is a funny trend for
I feel like
3
Final
games in a row.
Fantasy 6 is one of those black marks in my video game history, because that's one game that I definitely should have played.
And
with 7
again,
being my favorite, and I haven't.
It's on the SNES Classic.
Yeah,
perfect emulation.
I know, but 10 just came out on the Switch.
Because you haven't played that a few times already.
Hey! Just like you told me earlier in this podcast, you said go back and play something that you're enjoying.
I'm just worried it wouldn't.
I'm just saying, here's the name of a game that you can try that you might enjoy.
Oh, you mean like Soma?
Well, so much for that conversation.
Age well, just because like I never really played any of those old school RPGs. So is it like going to be too slow for me?
It is. I mean, it is turn-based. It also is quite an undertaking for any. Maybe that's another reason why they decided to do Link's Awakening, because it was a smaller game, because they want to see how much effort it is to remake a game from the ground up like that. But you can say that about any game, really. I mean, every game from conception is being reworked from the ground up, but I mean, when it's a remake, I guess that's a different market.
Yeah, I think those RPGs are probably a little bit harder. Like with 7, there's so many worlds, so many different areas, so much in them.
I mean, it'll never happen. This was Link to the Past. I can feel like is feasible, especially if Link's Awakening sells well. Final Fantasy 6 is never being remade. Like they've re-released it with a better. That was the only thing that sucked about the SNES version. The translation wasn't as good as the other. I think it was
PlayStation 1 copy. Anthology or whatever.
It was either PlayStation 1 or I think they did eventually re-release it for the GBA as well. That had a better translation too. I just remember the original translation wasn't as good. Hell, they couldn't even tell that a 6 was a 6. They thought it was a 3.
Whoopsie!
I think that was just because like they only released Final Fantasy.
Yeah, they only released 2 of them in America.
They released 1, 4, and 6. So they called it 1, 2, and 3, not to confuse people. But then, when they re-released them in that anthology set on the PS1, they named them properly, which I do have that as well. That's how I was playing the game before I got the SNES Classic. But yeah, I would love to see that remade. It doesn't even have to be like a full remake. It could be like remake it in the vein of maybe something like Octopath Traveler. because
Yeah, or like how Secret of Mana did it, where it's like not like a huge Final Fantasy VII
Yeah,
style remake, but
yeah.
they do kind of, you know, buff it up and make it a little more
Yeah.
modern.
Because Octopath Traveler, like, that's taking old technology to new levels, in my opinion. It's not like they did anything super stellar, but like the game just feels really good.
Yeah.
So those are my two.
Good choices.
I was really trying to come up. I guess if I had to pick a Polygon game to remake, I would say Perfect Dark, the original Perfect Dark.
I thought they said something about Perfect Dark is getting is going to be at this E3
Like a
as
sequel?
well. Yeah, or I don't know if it's a sequel or a soft reboot, but
I mean, because they've only had
talks.
2 games in the series. There was Perfect Dark and then
Perfect Zero.
Dark Zero.
That was the one for Xbox 360.
Yeah,
Not like a launch title or something.
It was a launch title for the 360 or
Yes.
PS3, one of the two. 360, I'm pretty sure,
Yeah, it's exclusive to Xbox.
because it's a Rare game.
Yep.
That's why. And Microsoft owned Rare at the time.
Diddy Kong Racing. That's right.
The sequel that never was.
Maybe. With
Oh,
the
no.
connection of Nintendo.
Oh,
Yes, we talked about that
that's
last
right.
week. Yeah.
That's true. That would be really neat. But yeah, probably something on the N64 primarily, just because it had the one joystick and it was really cumbersome to play anything.
Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Yeah, that was remade for the Xbox.
Yeah,
It was.
Well, I thought that was a sequel.
No, that was just.
That was
remake.
an actual.
It was a remake.
Oh, okay.
That was one of the games I was thinking of, but then I remembered that it got remade for the original Xbox. It wasn't very good. It was all right, but all right. Well, Matt, because you're the
Andy?
person I talked to first,
Yay.
where can people find you?
You can find me at Matt Talks Games on the Twitter and the Twitch.
And what about you, Dan?
You can find me at Game Review Guy on Twitter.
And you can find me at Hylian Andy on Twitter. And you can find the podcast at Manabar Podcast on Twitter. If you have any questions or comments or something you'd like us to talk about, feel free to email us at manabarpodcast@gmail.com. And with that, this is The Collector, The Trophy Hunter, and The Bargain Bin Gamer logging off.